This week in the conversation, I have the privilege to welcome author Amanda Vink from Buffalo, New York. She's the author of a compelling novel titled Marjorie Hart and the Tree of Life. But before we get into the video, I just want to remind everyone that it's important to subscribe to this YouTube channel. And if you do, don't forget to click the notification bell so that way every time a video is posted, it'll go directly into your portable. So let's get started. Again, my name is Ardain Isma, and I'm here this afternoon with a very impressive author, and her name is Amanda Vink. We're going to be talking about her impressive novel, Marjorie Hart and the Tree of Life. Marjorie, Amanda, so sorry. Welcome to the conversation.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here.
All right, so to really begin officially, I'd just like for you to tell the readers, the viewers of CSMS Magazine, who is Amanda Vink?
Oh, okay. The question. I am a writer and an editor and an actress, and I live in Buffalo, New York, well, close to. And I have been writing for forever. I've been working in publishing for about 10 years and acting for about 6 years, maybe a little longer than that. Yeah, I'm happy to be here. I love writing. I love talking about writing. So this is exciting.
You still acting?
I do, yeah. In fact, I just had an audio play come out with this company that's called Green Buffalo Productions. So definitely worth checking out.
So well, actually, from acting to writing, before we get into Marjorie Hart, could you please tell us, or tell me in particular, how do you find the time to do all this?
Well, you know, I happen to, I think about this a lot because being anyone in the world who is creative, which is everybody, because everybody is creative, you really have to find time to do things, and it's not always easy. And I feel personally that there's a season for everything. So
Right.
sometimes I'm very busy and very creative and you know, trying to get stuff done.
Right.
And there are other times in the year when I really need to rest and not do much of anything at all, just to recharge the juices.
Right.
I think that's a very healthy approach to creating things. And I try to write a little bit every day, but that doesn't mean that I'm working on a big project all the time. It may be 10 minutes of just like free writing and seeing what happens and playing a little bit.
Right. There was something you said, and that really caught my attention greatly. You said writing is so important, and I wrote it down. I got it down. What you say regarding okay, yeah, you said you read a lot when you're feeling blue and unable to concentrate in your writing.
Mm-hmm.
You know what, Amanda, it happened to me a lot. Sometimes I'm working on a project, and for some reason, just my mind just goes blank. And I have to put the whole thing aside and try to get one of my best books from here and concentrate into it. And you know what? After a while, it gets me back to where I was before.
Yeah.
Is that what happens to you sometimes?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. You know, I read, there's this author, artist, his name is Austin Kleon, and he has this book called Steal Like an Artist, which is fabulous if you haven't read it. And one of the pointers in it is garbage in, garbage out. So
Okay.
if you are, yeah, the idea is that you really can't produce anything meaningful unless you're surrounding yourself by ideas that are meaningful. So
Correct.
Yeah, I find that to be very helpful, and just to get my mind in the right place. You know, it's a lot of work to create things, so your mind needs some fodder to work with.
Okay, so let's get into Marjorie Hart and the Tree of Life. Okay. Interesting. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Just put it up again so
Oh,
the audience can see it. Exactly. Okay, great. So great story, which begins with a letter that Marjorie found, right? It was written by her dad. Actually, the father left that letter for her, right?
exactly.
And then can you tell us how the story unfolds?
Absolutely. So, Marjorie Hart is a photojournalist who lives in Buffalo, New York
Right.
during the 1920s. And
1920s.
she believes in facts and everything she can see and touch, and nothing outside of that. And while she is trying to pursue her photojournalism,
Right.
she receives a letter from her father,
Right.
who was killed while he was traveling in Cairo. He's a scholar and an archaeologist. And he basically tells her he's been searching for the tree of life his whole life. And he basically tells her, I have found this clue and I need you to continue the search before it falls into the wrong hands.
We don't want to tell the whole story
Right.
now. So
Right.
exactly.
I was going to cut it back.
But the thing is, when you frame the story this way, did you do some research to understand the Middle East, actually
Absolutely.
North Africa during the 1920s?
Absolutely. Actually, I love research. Research is like my favorite part of the writing process. So I was lucky that I had written a book already about the history of the Middle East.
Okay.
So I already had some kind of background of things that were going on.
Okay.
But I definitely wanted to know what it felt like to live there in the 1920s. So I was looking up pictures and musicians that were living there at the time, and all sorts of political stuff. So I watched documentaries. I got into it.
And actually, the 1920s was very, I would say, active moment for that part of the world. If I remember the Treaty of Balfour in 1923, where they partitioned the Middle East between great colonial powers. Britain, was at the center of it. Yeah. I love historical fiction, Amanda. It seems to me that it's a passion for you too.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Okay. Is that because you love history that led you to write Marjorie Hart?
Yeah, I think that's a big part of it. It's not only do I love stories, but it is the research too, and it's learning about how other people live and what they've gone through. And I one thing that I think of a lot in between writing and with my acting is that stories connect us, and like we're more alike than we're different.
Right.
And stories show us that and help us create empathy with other people. So learning about how other people live is really exciting for me.
Okay. Now, that character, Marjorie, which is the protagonist of the story, were you inspired by someone actually that you know?
I would say it's a culmination of many people that I know. It was kind of funny though. She came to me fully formed, like this was her. This is like that doesn't happen to me all the time with characters, but she showed up and she was like, here I am, like make a story for me.
That's interesting, Amanda. She came up to you and said, look, here I am. Yeah, is that what? Because as a novelist, sometimes you embody the character, and sometimes you think that they're talking to you. Is it how you feel sometimes?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I feel the talking to, but it's frustrating because you don't always, when you're as a writer, you probably know this. Even though you have the character, it's a matter of figuring out like, okay, like how do I make this work? Like I have the beginning, I have the end. I know what you're like, but what happens in the middle? It gets nebulous sometimes.
Exactly. So what do you do when that happens?
I try to read a lot.
Just go back to reading again. Okay.
Actually, one thing that really works for me, and it's probably because of my acting background,
Right.
is I work as long as I can, just free flow and
Okay.
just writing and seeing what happens.
Right.
But there comes a point, usually in the fun and game section,
Right.
when I don't know what's going to happen. So usually I use what's called a beat sheet, which is what screenwriters use to write movies.
Okay.
So and then I lay it out, and it's almost like a framework for, okay, how do I get from this part that is causing me
Okay.
trouble to
Right.
the next section?
Right. Right.
Do you use something along?
Well, what I do, me personally, when that happens to me, just like you said, I just take a break and then I go back to the drawing board. I move away from the computer, even from my note, and then I sit on the back in the backyard and try to to reframe the whole
Mm-hmm.
story.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing I always do also, I change the time I write. I found out that early in the morning, around 5 in the morning, it's the best time for me when everybody's still asleep. My
Yeah.
wife is not bothering me. You see what I mean? Yeah, I found out this way. Once I really I pick it up again,
Mm-hmm.
then I can write anyway.
Yeah.
But that specific moment, I really needed what I call to recharge the mind and keep
Yeah.
writing. Yeah.
Yeah. I think structure definitely helps. Like for me, it's not a time of writing, but it's an amount of writing. For me, it's again that 10 minutes a day starting like a free write. I have to do that. And then if I for this book, I actually scheduled like 2 hours into my day
Too
just to
bad.
write.
Okay.
And that was like, I'm here, this is my job, I'm showing up. Like if I write something that's good, wonderful. If I don't, well, I'm still here. I'm still working.
Okay, now let me ask you a question now. I know you're an actress and you're also an author. Um, which one between the two that you started first? Was that acting or writing?
Well, if I go really far back, I was an actress before I was a writer.
Okay,
I acted when I was in high school and middle
okay,
school, and I was really into that. And I didn't really start writing seriously until I was in later high school.
okay.
Um, but yeah, definitely started with the acting.
Okay, so when you were in high school, then the passion for writing started creeping into your mind, right? And you
Yeah,
began to realize that somehow maybe I can have a career in writing too, right?
yeah. Well, that that came in college actually, because
College.
I was originally going for theater, and then I decided at the
Okay,
last moment to change.
okay.
Yeah, I had a weird background actually. I didn't like reading when I was a kid. I
You're the second person to tell me that in the show.
really
Yeah.
I find that most authors don't admit that or feel that way. But for me, I don't know. I think a lot of it was I needed to find a book that I really loved to get into it. And it took me a long time to find a book that I really was absorbed in.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. So when you found that book, then what happened? So you began to realize somehow writing is something that can be fun too.
Yeah, yeah. It switched from being work that you have to do to better yourself to being something that you can escape into and enjoy.
Yes, 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 yes. Just like this 19th century author, Marcel Proust, who wrote À la recherche du temps perdu, which is the In Search of Lost Time. He
Hmm.
spent 12 years in his bedroom, looking out the window, the sea on the way. He lived in a beach, house where
Hmm.
he could see the sea, and 12 years to put together the huge volume In Search of
Hmm.
Lost Time. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, you can pick, even myself, when I wrote my second novel, Midnight at Noon, I began the novel. I was in a hotel in Paris when I started it, the prologue. Yeah, but yet I was pretty close to 3,000 miles away. And I was writing about something, so distant, but I felt so connected to it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Just like you, when you were writing Marjorie Hart, I think that it's you're writing about the Middle East. At least part of the novel, it focuses on that part of the world. But you were in New York writing it, right?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's funny, people actually ask me, have you spent a lot of time there? And I'm like, no. I actually have not gone to the Middle East, which is I've tried a couple times, and it just didn't work out. Like there were complications, and it's still like I really want to go there just because I'm so fascinated by the history of the region. So I mean, I'm all for travel, and I love traveling. Some of my next ideas for stories are rooted in places that I've actually been, but this one has not.
Can you give us a clue?
Sure. Well, one of the stories that I have in mind takes place in Great Britain, and another story I have takes place in Rome. So
okay.
I won't give anything away though, because I do feel like if you talk about your work too much before it's written, you kind of lose the momentum on it. So I don't want to.
Exactly. I know what you mean.
Yeah.
So when you conceived the novel entirely, who did you go to as a publisher?
Well, funny story. This was actually the first book of my own publishing company.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But I've worked in publishing for 10 years, and I had always thought about creating my own publishing company, and it's something that I seriously started thinking about 2 or 3 years ago.
Okay.
And with things shutting down because of COVID,
right.
I all of a sudden had all this free time, and it was like, well, now or never. So I decided to really crank down and do it, and I started the publishing company, and this book came out in April, and our next book is looking to be coming out in October. It's
interesting.
Yeah.
So we know that Marjorie Hart can be found in all the retail stores. That for a viewer out there would love to get his hand on Marjorie Hart, you can order it on Amazon, right? Because I know that my daughter ordered the book last night.
Oh, cool.
I just want to tell everyone to, if you want to get your hand on Marjorie Hart and the Tree of Life, and to get the feel of Amanda's style of writing, then you can order it on Amazon. I think Prime also, Amazon Prime, you can get it. That's how she got it last night anyways.
Yeah. It's available just about everywhere books are sold. It's also available directly from the publisher, which is Caladena Press, which I'll send you how to spell that.
Okay, no problem. No problem. And every time, Amanda, on this show, sometimes, in the show, we start talking about literature, and then we switch into something more cozy. But before we get into that, I have to ask you, because I know you are a perfectionist when it comes to writing, and that's why you become a publisher. So who you would consider as your favorite author?
Oh man. That's a hard thing to pick.
Really?
Yeah, because I jump around on so many different, I read nonfiction, fiction, mysteries, fantasy. I read everything. Because I guess I'll stay with historical fiction because this book is historical fiction.
Yeah.
I really like Margaret George for historical fiction. Her books are like huge and wonderful and expansive. And if you really want to get like inside of a world, she has like 12, 15 books available. So she's a good one.
Okay. And now, because I know that I'm a man and I love to cook. Although I've never been a great cook, because I know my wife nearly dumped me when we were just fiancés, I was so bad on the fish. But so are you a great cook, man? So what is your favorite cuisine?
I love food, all food. I don't have a food
Preference?
that I dislike. um, I like things with lots of flavor. So I don't know, Indonesian,
Yeah.
Thai.
Okay.
I like spicy stuff, Indian. Just choose a food and give it to me, and I'll be happy.
But how about preparing it yourself?
um,
Really good.
I also like to cook a lot of different varieties of cuisine. It helps. I live in a small town outside
Okay.
of the city,
Fine.
so there. I mean, if I want something, it often pays to know how to make it myself.
Okay.
So I do a lot of experimenting in the kitchen.
Okay, I get you. Back to what you say that. Okay. And now my other question. We talk about food. We talk about your favorite author. How about, because I know you're an actress, somehow you must have some connection with music.
With music?
Mhm.
Yeah.
What is your favorite music?
I really like opera, actually.
Really?
I do. I just like how it's very calming, and I am a like a I need calm when I work, and I can't work and listen to music at the same time. I need like almost quiet in order to work. So, yeah, opera kind of fits the bill because I don't usually understand it, the
Okay.
language, and
Okay.
it's pretty to listen to.
Okay.
What about you?
Well, I mean, I'm the guy from the Caribbean, so I love that calypso and
Oh
I
yeah,
love
yeah.
that compa, that salsa. But really, Amanda, I love any kind of music. For example, in the morning, I only love to listen to French ditties, the French soft songs, because I
Mm-hmm.
speak French. And other times, I just want to listen to Spanish music, you know. And then other times, I'm just the guy from the 80s. I just, I can put Remember the Old One, um, Get Down on It by the Cool and the Gang.
Get
I
down
can,
on it.
yes, I can listen to that too, especially if I'm at the gym, working out. So, it depends on the moment, but I love music.
Mm-hmm.
My wife can tell you that. I really love music. So, yeah. And my last question, Amanda, because I know you're young, a very promising author, and a businesswoman too. If there's a lesson out there that you would love to give to a young writer like you,
Mm-hmm.
um, who really wants to embark upon a mission, not just to teach the world, but writing but the world in general, what lesson would that be? Using your pen.
I would say, oh, that's a big question. Nothing is too small to write about.
Okay.
That would be, I think, the biggest thing. You can make a leaf like a leaf interesting, one that you find on the ground. You can make a hair on the carpet something that is magical or that reflects the light in a certain way. That like there is no limit to what you can start with. So just start where you are and see where it takes you, and don't be afraid of that.
Um, Do you read Ernest Hemingway a lot?
I
He
have
said that.
actually did hear. Oh, well, I've actually never read Hemingway, although it's on my list of. Actually, no, I lie. I read a short story,
Okay.
but none of his larger
Great man.
works.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
He said that, and I truly believe in that too.
yeah.
So with that, I'm just gonna say it's been such a pleasure to have in the conversation. Believe me, you know what? I guess once the other book is out, you're gonna have to come back into the conversation again. I love talking to you.
That's a deal. I'm in.
Okay. Deal. Okay. All right. So until then, and it was a pleasure. really.
Thank you, Ardain. This has been great.